they have a guy that legitimately has a shot at Gold Glove at every position if they were to get Bregman.
Yeah.
That doesn't, listen, defense doesn't necessarily win championships in baseball. Pitching and defense might, but it's going to make that pitching much, much better if you have that type of elite defense. Okay, that's an argument for it. He brings power. That's an argument for it. Could he block potentially Shaw a little bit? Does he mean because of the salary that instantly, this is what a lot of people are worried about, not just the Shaw part, instantly Nico gets traded and Shaw moves over to second? That's how you save some money. Nico's money, while affordable and reasonable and would look good to another team, comes off the books. Are you out if signing Bregman means trading Nico?
I was having this conversation in the voice chat in the Discord on my way here, and to me, it's really just, I'm not a fan of it, but if you can get a really good pitcher, like we've discussed at the beginning of the offseason, like if you can get a controllable high-end pitcher, like a guy who's not, we're not talking about 3, 4, 5 in the rotation. We're talking about a guy who you can put up there with Steele and Imanaga. If you trade Nico and one of your top 100 guys and let's say Javier Assad for one of those guys out in Seattle, you know, then I'm pro for it. But I don't think that that's a thing. I doubt it's a thing.
But then you're adding more salary back. Like what?
Well, you're adding salary back no matter what, unless you're trading for prospects.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to say is, what if trading Nico is just to kind of replenish some of the prospects and you would do something later? Like, what if Nico didn't return you? I agree with you. If you got something very valuable back, I've always said there's nobody on the roster that's untradeable.
Yeah.
I like Nico, but if Luka Doncic can get traded, Nico Hoerner can get traded.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm advocating it or asking for it. I'm just saying if one of the 3 best players in basketball can get traded, a second baseman who doesn't hit 20 home runs can also get traded.
But let's just look at the fact of the matter here. The reason that this will probably happen is because we're just trying to break even over here at 1060 West Addison.
So if that's the case, prospects would be coming back in a Nico deal.
Because
more than potentially a pitcher.
The payroll right now is around 211 after adding Brazier. So say Bregman gets a $30 million AAV, you're right there at the first tier luxury tax, right? And if you want to have money at the trade deadline, right, you might need more space. And as much as it makes me really frustrated with that thinking, it is reality. And so do I think that it's going to happen? If they sign Bregman to, let's just go with the rumored deal of 4 years, 110 million, whatever it was.
Yeah, 100 or 110, 125,
right.
doesn't matter.
If that is what happens, the only way that I will probably find a way to get over it is if you're moving Hoerner for a piece that in my opinion, you need, which is
that helps you win this year.
That helps you win this year and beyond. I don't know what they have in store. I really don't.
I don't see how unless that happens, I don't see how necessarily trading Nico after you get Bregman and possibly 1 year of Tucker and 1 year of Presley, all these 1 year rentals, that those all say want to win now. Trading Nico doesn't signal necessarily the same thing unless you're getting back players, but then you're talking about money again. So if it would just have to be a salary dump, and I see Craig Brindle's like one of my favorite players, but once they drafted Shaw, writing was on the wall. I don't know about that. If you have a first-round draft pick, I'm not worried necessarily about what position I'm drafting. I'm just trying to draft the best players and hope they get major league level fast. And then if I don't need that player, then I move them for whatever might be. But let's just throw another scenario real quick.
All right.
If you were signing Bregman and then you had to dump some salary, would you rather see them dump Nico's salary for prospects, or would you rather see them dump Tyone's salary for prospects? Are they deep enough at starting pitcher, or are you still saying no? That's
mean, sure. Like,
would that hurt you less to trade Tyone from your pitching depth that you think you've started to improve in the rotation?
I guess just because, yeah, you do have some depth there, but this is
It's going to give you a headache.
It's giving me a headache, yeah. And I just don't. If you trade Tyone, it no matter what, it's all salary dump. Unless you're getting prospects, and maybe those prospects aren't far away. I think Nico Hoerner has a lot of value. As much as he doesn't have the value that he did after 23, he still has value. He's getting put on lists as being a top 10 second baseman in all of baseball, all across the industry right now of what we work in. Mm-hmm. And he is someone that is very valuable to teams. So
I'd be less.
I don't think teams are that interested in Jamison Tyone personally.
I'd be less interested in Bregman signing for the Cubs if it meant I decrease my chances of Tucker being able to be re-signed in the Cubs' eyes.
Yeah,
we know it should have nothing to do with the other, but if a Bregman deal were to happen and it was for 100 or 125, if that meant I'm even less likely to be able to sign Tucker, then I'm less into the Bregman deal than I was, because I'm still okay with Bush getting a run at third base, even though I think Bregman would make them potentially, most likely, almost certainly a better team going into this season.
Real quick, though, again, just going back to the break even, that's where it's just nasty for an owner to say that out loud.
Yeah.
Because, again, if you are the Chicago Cubs, third biggest market, owning this town when it comes to baseball, you should be spending on both Tucker and Bregman, and it shouldn't really be even a question. And the fact that maybe they see like the possibility of getting a player cheap, and that's why they're in it right now, that's fine. But like, you're doing that because the market has an inequity or whatever. Tucker is available next year. Like, Tucker should be a part of your future. It's so weird that if you sign Bregman, then you wouldn't be able to get Tucker, because Tucker should be a player you build around. It's even weird that the Astros are trading him.
Yeah.
William Workman in the chat says Nico's not worth the ace that you speak of. It's a pipe dream. And like, that's fair. I honestly, I don't disagree. I think that you'd have to send more than Nico. Like I said, you're going to have to send a top 100 prospect and Nico, and probably a guy like an Assad or someone in that realm of pitchers that you have. And even then, I still don't know if it's going to be worth something to a team like the Mariners, even though all they've been doing this offseason is sitting on their hands, right? But to me, that's the only way that I'm really going to accept this personally. I understand reality, and this reality is dumb, but if we have to live in it, that is what I would prefer to have. And if it's not one of those young arms in Seattle, then if you can somehow just get a controllable arm in general, like I was in a Twitter space the other day, and someone was talking about Clark Schmidt from the Yankees. Maybe that's more realistic. If he's 28, has a couple years control. He's kind of the swingman type guy. I think he started more games the year before. I can't remember. I don't have his numbers up, but he's started games. He's been used as a reliever, whatever. Maybe that's more realistic. But even then, though, I'm still very annoyed by that, because Nico Hoerner, with a rotation that the Cubs have right now, where they don't generate enough whiffs, I think that you need to have the best defense that you can. As much as we sit here and we talk about we need to score more runs, yes, but Nico Hoerner has saved a lot of runs for this.
They have a lot of guys who pitch to contact.
So I guess maybe I probably am evaluating here in some aspects. I know this, but I'm asking for a lot for a guy like Nico Hoerner. I'm just being honest.
Schmidt was a reliever in 2022, 29 appearances, 3 games started, 57 and 2/3 innings, a 3.12 ERA. The next year, 32 starts and 33 games, a 4.64 ERA. First time in his career he hit over 150 innings. And then I'm assuming he dealt with some sort of injury in 24. 16 starts, 16 games, 2.85 ERA, but only 85 and a third inning. So even that guy, there is some red flags that he might not even be able to get you 100 innings.
Yeah. And I feel like that's probably a realistic guy, just because the Cubs and the Yankees have made a lot of trades in recent years. But it's not
They have.
something that I'm like, personally, I'm not personally here for it. Now, if Matt Shaw goes on to be awesome, I do think Matt Shaw has a higher offensive ceiling than Nico Hoerner, but it goes back to how we're talking about him playing third base. You know, like we just don't really know. It's frustrating. And but it does sound like it's reality that someone like Hoerner will be moved if this signing goes down.
We all silly like the mayor.